If you're not terrified, you're simply not paying attention. Exactly. Absolutely. If you're not terrified, you ain't paying attention. And there are too many people in America, there are too many people in the Western world who are too damn comfortable. They are too damn comfortable. I see. Holy shit. Oh my God. I see. I've been talking about this for years. I see the rise of Turkey. I see Turkey killing Armenians in 2020. You see Azerbaijan invading Armenia not too long after that. They literally had they had all these Azeri soldiers invading Armenia, and they killed 200 people. Most of them were Armenian soldiers. They took some poor Armenian woman, they cut her tits off. I'm not joking. You can look this up. I'm not making this up. They filmed themselves doing it. And Turkey did it. And they invaded Nagorno-Karabakh, and they said they had the Azeri soldiers driving around saying, if you're Armenian, leave, or else we are going to force you to leave. Ethnic cleansing in 2021. Actual ethnic cleansing in 2021. Beheading civilians, executing civilians, right there. The world didn't do a shit, nothing about it. The Western world didn't do shit. NATO didn't do shit. Turkey's a fucking NATO member. And what happened? Nothing. You know why? Because Turkey controls the Dardanelles. And so you have that. And then in the Western world, you have freaking Elon Musk, and he's the richest man in the world, and he owns the #1 outlet that people are going to get their news. And he controls that. And he is a eugenist. He's a eugenist. He supports eugenics. He supports German nationalism. This guy is the Henry Ford of our time. They had Henry Ford back in the day. Henry Ford loved Hitler. Henry Ford was making the car. He had the first factory to make cars. And at that time, that was a big-ass deal. He had the, what do they call it? The assembly line, the first assembly line to make cars. He was the Elon Musk of his day. And he loved Hitler, and he loved eugenics, and he loved German nationalism. And then you had Sostenes Ben, who ran IT&T, International Telegram and Telephone Company. He loved Hitler, and he was backing Hitler, making business deals with Hitler. Those were the Elon Musks. Today we have who? We got Musk, we got Thiel, we got their ilk in Silicon Valley, and they're back into German nationalism and eugenics. We can literally see parallels between our own time and the time before the Third Reich, and the time before the Second World War. And in World War I, you had the Ottoman Empire. They were allies with the Germans, and the Ottoman Empire did a genocide. And we see Turkey rising up today. And do you know what? Do you know what the Turks said before they did the Armenian genocide? They said, we're going to do temporary deportation. And they called it temporary law for deportation. That's what they called it. Temporary law. Oh, it's temporary. It's like that pop song that came out years ago. It's temporary. It's temporary. It's temporary. Yeah, you probably don't know about that song. It was a song that was played in the video game. It was for the soundtrack for the Sleeping Dogs video game, which was a gem of a game. It was a very underrated game, but an excellent game nonetheless. But they called it. Why am I bringing up video games, talking about such a freaking gloomy subject? I guess that's my way of consolation. But they talked about temporary law of deportation. Oh, it's not a genocide. It's not a genocide. It's deportation. Oh, okay. Oh, it's deportation. Oh, okay. So they're not going to kill us. They're just going to deport us. That's right. Yeah, don't worry. You'll be fine. It's just deportation. Just get on a train. And the Ottomans used the train system. They had a big old fat railway system, and they used the trains. They used the railway system. And they were the first people to use a railway system to genocide people. And they would use the train stations as concentration camps. and they would bring the people to the concentration camps, and they would kill them in the concentration camps, or they would cram everybody together in these small areas, and disease would spread, and there was starvation, and it was horrific. And they marched them through the Amanos Mountains, and hundreds of thousands of people were killed in the Amanos Mountains. 400,000 people were murdered in the Amanos Mountains. Just like that, 400,000. Hundreds of thousands of people were killed in the Deir ar-Zor, the Syrian desert. And who controls the Syrian desert now? It's Turkey. Turkey controls the Assyrian desert. And we are clapping our hands as we see America saying, give it to the Turks. The very country that did the Armenian genocide in the Deir ar-Zor, in the Syrian desert, is now controlling the Syrian desert to the applause of the Americans. If, to quote Mr. Farrell, if you're not terrified, you're simply not paying attention. Oh, deportations. It's just, that's how this shit begins. So they're talking about deporting Palestinians. Now, it's possible that Donald Trump is just bluffing. It's possible that he doesn't mean it. It's possible that he's just saying shit to get the Arabs to get, oh, okay, we'll make a deal, Trump, please, let's make a deal. Don't send Palestinians to our country. That's possible. And you could even argue that that's the most likely thing that's happening in all this, in the midst of all this. But here is the problem. Nonetheless, even if Trump is bluffing, let's look at two different situations here, two different possible situations. Either it's bullshit or it's not. If Donald Trump is bluffing, let's say he's bluffing, right? But look at how many people responded positively towards the idea of doing mass deportations. Holy shit. Oh my goodness. The amount of people on Twitter/X. They need to change the name of that website. X. They should call it SS. Just call it Waffen. Just call it SS. Why is it called SS? Oh, because it means sweet star. But really, it means the fucking Waffen SS. It's the Waffen SS. All right. Oh my God. I went on to Twitter and I typed in Gaza. The amount of people saying this is great. It's scary. People supporting mass deportations of millions of people. So even if Trump is bluffing, let's say he's bluffing, right? Let's just say he wants to get a deal going, so he's a deal maker. You know, he's the art of the deal, so he says something crazy to get people to agree to a compromise or something like that. Let's just say he's bluffing. Regardless of that, the amount of people who responded positively to this idea is terrifying. Now let's look at the other possible scenario. Let's say he's not bluffing. Let's say he really wants to see mass deportations. So let's say in such a situation they are mass deportations. Then what does that do? What that does is it creates a precedent. Not a president, a precedent. Meaning, it changes the Overton window. Because part of the Overton window is mass deportations are bad. But if you change the Overton window so that mass deportations become acceptable, then that creates a new standard or a new precedent. So I'll give you guys an example. In legal terminology, they use the word precedent to talk about case law or past laws that were established, right? Past bills that were passed by the Supreme Court. So, for example, they will say, well, we can pass this law because this law is akin to this other bill that was passed in the past, and this bill says roughly or effectively the same thing that this law that we want to pass says. So according to case law or referencing a past precedent, we can pass this bill. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by precedent. So if Israel does mass deportations, that sets a precedent. Other countries can then say, well, look, Israel is a democracy, it's a Jewish state, it's the only Jewish state, and it's a country that was founded as a response to the Holocaust. And if that country can do that, can do deportations and even genocide, and get away with it, then so can we. And Turkey can say, if Israel can do deportations and get away with it, why can't we deport all these Armenians out of Armenia and take it over? And we'll resume the Armenian genocide. We'll resume from where we left off, damn it! And let's say Germany is watching, and the Germans say, hey, if Israel could do a mass deportations of Palestinians, why can't we deport all the refugees that we have in our country? That sounds like a great damn idea, does it not? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like during the Armenian genocide, who was watching? Who was watching during the Armenian genocide? The Germans were watching. Now, they were Germans who believed and who knew rightfully that the Armenian genocide was evil and barbaric, and God bless those people. But there were other Germans, and these were the militaristic Germans, these were the racist Germans, these were the eugenist Germans, these were the social Darwinistic Germans. Those Germans were watching what was happening, and they saw how the Ottomans were doing a genocide by utilizing the train system. There was this major train system that ran through the Ottoman Empire. I believe it was known as the Berlin-Baghdad Railway. Yeah, Berlin-Baghdad Railway system. And it was created by Germans and Austrians. The Ottomans used that railway system to systematically genocide people, because through the railway system they could easily transport large bodies of people, not for a vacation but for extermination. Now, they said, again, this was all done under the guise of deportation, and if you want to be more specific, it was done under the guise of temporary law of deportation. Oh, it's just a deportation, it's harmless, right? No harm, no foul. This is great, this is fine. But they killed 1 million people. So when countries start talking about mass deportations, that is the canary in the coal mine. It is. It's the canary in the coal mine. Expect genocide to be something seen as acceptable, because mass deportations are the precursor to genocide. It's the truth. So, like I said, and like Mr. Farrell said, if you're not nervous, there's something wrong with you. You're not paying attention. I see people say, it's amazing. It's like I look at the world through these sunglasses. This is figuratively speaking, but I look at the world through these sunglasses. It's like that movie where the guy puts on the sunglasses and he sees like alien monsters or something. I've never seen the film, but I've only seen excerpts of it on YouTube. Or it's kind of like The Matrix, when after you take the red pill, you can see certain things that other people can't see. It's amazing how perspectives are so different between different people. So, for example, you have a lot of people who see what? What do they see? They see, wow, we have the richest man in the world on our side. He is against the woke mind virus. The woke mind virus is transgenderism, and transgenderism is destroying society. So Musk is against the woke mind virus. And because we have the richest man in the world on our side, then we're not going to lose. We got this dude on our side. They see a dominating, pro-America, patriotic president running the United States, Donald Trump. He's doing wonders for the U.S. He's going to do wonders for the U.S. He's going to make America great again. This is what they see. To a certain, are they wrong about everything? No, they're not. Are they right about some things? Yes. I don't like transgenderism. I think it's bullshit. I think it's disgusting. The woke mind virus, I think that is a totally acceptable term. It's a mind virus. I have no issue with that. But the problem is it's not necessarily what they're seeing, it's more so what they refuse to see. Privyet. We have our Russian friend is in the chat. It's what they refuse to see. It's what they refuse to see. Because in the midst of all this, in the midst of this situation, about which a lot of people are very exhilarated and exuberant, I see a revival of fascism. I see techno-fascism. I see the revival of eugenics. This is what I see. I see Elon Musk promoting eugenics. And the MAGA perspective is, we have the richest man in the world on our side. This is great. What I see is, we have the richest man in the world promoting transhumanism and eugenics. And that's terrifying. Because it's not just some weirdo on 4chan pushing these ideas. It's the richest man in the world doing so. And if you can't see why that's so weird and strange and ominous and not good, then you're not really paying attention. You're basically, I'm going to say it, I'm going to sound like a freaking ex-Twitter follower guy. You're blue-pilled. You're not seeing the obvious. Another thing that I see is the richest man in the world is not only promoting eugenics and transhumanism, the richest man in the world is also promoting ultra-German nationalism, the AfD. And the AfD is a far-right militarist party. So you go back to the past, you see what? You see Henry Ford backing Hitler. Henry Ford was super wealthy. Rockefeller was super wealthy. He was back in eugenics. He was back in the Nazis. So Henry Ford, Rockefeller, very wealthy guys, super wealthy guys. They were the Elon Musks of the 20th century, but they were backing Nazism. They were backing eugenics. So you fast forward to our own times, what do we have? We have Elon Musk, richest man in the world, backing eugenics, backing German militarism, backing ultra-German nationalism. The devil is not original. He's not original. The devil just brings back ideas that he's been regurgitating since forever, and then he just remarkets them. But if you can just get past the remarketing, then you can see that it's just some old shit that's been pushed in the past. The devil is not original. Because he's been around forever. So, I mean, really, how many ideas can you make? There's only so many ideas you can come up with. Eugenics, Darwinism, okay, we got Islam, we got some heresies here and there. There's not many ideas. You know, the devil in the 1900s, he said, I got an idea, there's no God. Great. And that's another of his original ideas. But he's not very original. He just keeps regurgitating the same stuff. So that's why history is always repeating itself. The reason why history is always repeating itself is because the devil just regurgitates the same shit that he did in the past. So you see the same shit getting revived, people falling for the same shit, falling for the same slop, the same satanic slop, and then history repeats. And people just keep falling for it. So that's what I see. And a great example of people refusing to see the reality was Elon Musk doing the salute. The guy insulted your intelligence so much that he did a Nazi salute and told everyone that he wasn't doing a Nazi salute, and you guys believe him. Gaslighting at its finest. You guys fell for it. You guys fall for the gaslighting. It's unbelievable. It's like he doesn't even have to hide it. He doesn't even have to hide it. He just does it. And I've been saying it for years that the guy's a Nazi. Nobody believed me. And see Kyle. And you even have Piers Morgan falling for it. As intelligent as Piers Morgan is, that guy falls for it. What do you say to people who say your arguments are nothing but whataboutism? Whataboutism? What have I said that's a whataboutism? I'm curious. You did make it, but I'm interested to know what specifically have I said that's a whataboutism. The German affair is relatively understandable in regards why Musk is going for AfD. Let me guess, refugees, right? So that's what I see. And when people hear deportations, they think this is amazing. And when I hear deportations, because I've read enough about the Holocaust and I've read enough about the Armenian genocide, when I hear deportations, I'm thinking, oh my God, we are now returning back to the time when the idea of mass deportations was very popular. And also, we are going back to a time when deportations were done in the midst of genocide. Smirking while he threw double Roman salute. Not only did he grunted. Listen, if I want to do my heart goes out to you. Okay. This is my heart goes out to you guys. This is it. Hold on. Not. Oh. Oh. I mean, really, right? It's crazy. They say when you argue about a current issue being similar to the past. Oh, I see what you mean. So it's not really a whataboutism. A whataboutism is when someone says, hey, this is bad, and then you say, but what about this? This guy's also doing something bad, so why can't I do it? That's a whataboutism. But wrong hand, I understand what you're saying. So let me think about this for 1 second. What I would say is history repeats and or it rhymes. And if you have a first world country giving the green light to the idea of mass deportations, other countries will say, let's do it. Now, I will add to that because you do ask a good question and you bring up a good issue here. This is a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun here. So, America has been known for a very long time to be a trendsetter. America loves rap music. Rap music is all over the world. America loves football. People all over the world are watching American football. America makes movies. People all over the world watch those movies. America is a trendsetter. America is a trendsetter not only for harmless things like football or movies, but also for very dangerous things. To give you an example, 1922, the U.S. Supreme Court passes a bill called Buck versus Bell. This is where precedent comes in. Very, very scary stuff. So in those days, early 1900s, the idea of eugenics was very popular. But to be more specific, the idea of forcing people to be sterilized became very popular. Isn't that scary? Isn't it scary and horrifying and harrowing that in a country that prized itself as a country of liberty and freedom and justice for all, there were enough people who believed that it was not unconstitutional to force people to be sterilized? Isn't that terrifying? How people can flip like that? So there were a number of states in America that said, yes, we need to forcefully sterilize people. Okay. 1922 comes along. There's a young girl, her last name is Buck. And Miss Buck is deemed as unfit to have children because her IQ was so damn low. So the government said she needs to be sterilized. She cannot have children because if she does have children, she could potentially give birth to children who will be unfit, and we can't have that in American society. So her rights were completely stripped from her. Her rights were completely stripped from her, and her case was brought up to the highest court in the U.S., the Supreme Court. She was given a lawyer, and the lawyer was completely against her. So it was a complete kangaroo court. She really had no legitimate representation. This dog barking outside, so annoying. How do my dogs just bark at everything? They see a bird, they start barking. So, the Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes comes in, and he gives the dominating opinion in the Supreme Court, which was that sterilization is not unconstitutional. So Miss Buck, was forced to be sterilized. America set a precedent for that. And the whole world saw that. The whole world saw that America had declared forceful sterilization to be completely constitutional. So they constitutionalized forceful sterilization or mandatory sterilization. Who was watching? And this was in the 1920s, early 1920s. Who was watching? Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was watching, and he was reading the newspaper, and he read the story. U.S. Supreme Court gives the okay to mandatory sterilization. And Hitler said, we need to do that here in Germany. We need to do that here in Germany. And there was already a strong and growing eugenics movement in Germany. In fact, when Charles Darwin began to spread his ideas, Germany was the biggest absorber of his ideas outside of England. Germany really sucked it up. And you had Ernest Haeckel, who became the biggest disciple for Darwin in Germany, and he was spreading the gospel of Darwinism. The gospel, there's no good news, but he was spreading, the satanic gospel. And Hitler said, we got to do that. So what did America do? It set a precedent. So America has always been known as a trendsetter. Eventually, Germany becomes Nazi, the Third Reich rises up, and then what happens? The Germans take what the Americans were doing, they start implementing it, but they take it up to third gear, and they go on steroids, and they start mass murdering people. And the first victims of the Nazi death machine were the mentally handicapped, the people who were deemed as genetically unfit, not only to have children, but to live. So, America is a trendsetter. So if America... Now, listen, Turkey, through so Azerbaijan did ethnic cleansing in Nagorno-Karabakh in 2021. Turkey gave the green light to that. America said, oh, bad, that's naughty, we don't support this, but they didn't do shit. But Turkey is seen as a crazy Muslim country that has all of its or most of its relevance in the Muslim world. So the Western world sees Turkey, and they see Turkey as sort of a barbarian that they need. So the Germans and the French will say, oh, look, we're so elegant, we're so clean-cut, look at us, we're Europeans, we're intelligent, we're civilized, we're very civilized. And then right next to the Frenchman and the German is a Turkish guy with a damn saber, and it's covered in blood, and in one hand he's got the sword, and on the other hand he's got the head of some poor soul. And you go, well, who the hell is that guy next to you? Well, that's our friend. He's kind of crazy. He's not civilized like us, but we need him. That's what Turkey is. So Turkey is not a trendsetter, at least not for the non-Muslim world. Or let's just put it this way. Turkey is not a trendsetter for the Western world to a certain extent. But if Israel does mass deportations, and if Israel does genocide, and America says, we give you the okay, then other countries are going to say, well, why can't we do that? We can do the same thing. But even if Israel does a genocide without America's okay, without America's approval, that still will set a precedent, because Israel has been upheld so internationally as the most moral army in the world that other countries will say, well, the most moral army in the world just killed 1 million people, so why can't we do it? So no matter how you look at it, a trend will be set. I'll read your guys' comments. Hold on. They say when you argue about a current issue being similar to the past, so what about the Armenian genocide? Okay. Because history is a lesson. History is a teacher. This has been known since the dawn of time. You look at ancient Greek historians, and the ancient Greek historians would have told you that history is a teacher. It's a teacher of what? It's the teacher of human behavior. And it's also, more importantly than that, history is a teacher on evil. It teaches us about evil. We learn about human evil through history. No matter how you look at it, history is our teacher. Now, of course, Christianity gives us the light, but it's because we understand the light, or at least we know the light, that we know the darkness. And then history teaches us about how that evil functions. It teaches us how that evil works, and how it strategizes, and how it deceives, and how it covers up for things, how it functions. This is what history teaches us. So by looking at history, we can see patterns. Human beings can only do so much. Human beings can only think of so many things. So because we are so limited as humans, when evil is repeated, it leaves a recognizable pattern that we have seen so many times in history. Therefore, we can do a pattern recognition. And when we see that pattern happening in our own time, we can then see the warning signs. This is what I mean by the importance of looking at history. So, if you look at the Armenian genocide, and the Turks said, we're just going to do mass deportations, don't worry, and there was a genocide, we can see how human beings used the masquerading of deportations to cover up for a genocide. When the Germans began to genocide the Jews, they utilized the same sort of strategy. They said, we're simply going to deport the Jews to Eastern Europe. For example, there was a book, it was called East-West Street. I finished reading it recently. Pretty decent book. And the book talks about how the Holocaust was done in the beginning stages, and it gets into a lot of detail on that. And when it came to Austria, when it came to killing the Jews in Austria, what the Germans would do is something known as an Aktion. Now, they would do this in other countries. I'm not saying it was only in Austria. I'm just giving you guys some of the details of how they killed the Jews in Austria, because it does parallel with what the Turks did. So they would do something called an Aktion. An Aktion was simply a rounding up human beings. The Germans go to this area, or the Nazis go to this area, and they went into the apartment buildings, and they basically said, okay, all the Jews got to leave. So all the Jews, they're getting rounded up, right? They're getting rounded up. And in one instance, they took all these Jews to the street. And I think this was somewhere in the capital of Austria. They took all the Jews to the street, and they were putting them in these trucks. And they said, oh, just go into the trucks, right? We just need labor. We need workers. So just get into the trucks. And as they were escorting these people into the trucks, there were these Austrian passerbys. There were these Austrian pedestrians that were looking. And as they were watching these Jews being escorted into the trucks, do you know what the Austrians were doing? Austrian civilians, Austrian pedestrians, they were clapping their hands. Could you imagine that? Westerners clapping their hands, applauding upon seeing Jews being rounded up. This is something that people will associate with the Muslim world, right? People will normally associate this behavior with the Muslim world, but this was happening in Austria. People clapping their hands upon seeing Jews being rounded up. They put them in the trucks, and they said, oh, we're just going to take you to the train station, and then you're going to be taken to work somewhere. Well, no, you'll be fine. Don't worry. They took them to the train station. And the thing is that when I tell you Nazis brought Jews to a train station, what you're thinking is the billowing smoke coming out of the train. You're seeing armed guards with barking dogs, and people by the droves are being crammed into these train cars, right? That's what you're imagining. But that's not how it was in this case in Austria. That's not how it was. they used really nice trains for the Austrian Jews, and they were clean. And when they put them in the trains, they didn't cram people in by the droves into these train cars. No. It was like taking a normal train ride. You walked into the train, there were all the seats, the benches, there were the tables. I'm sure they gave them a meal. It appeared, it felt just like any normal train ride. And what this did was it put everyone at ease. They're not cramming us into carts by the droves. They're not forcing us into these claustrophobic conditions. We're just in a train. We're sitting on our benches. We're around tables. Maybe there's some dinner. Maybe there's drinks. And we're hearing the noise of the train tracks. And it seems really normal. And what that did was it put everyone at ease. And then they brought them to Treblinka. That's where they took them. And they killed them in Treblinka. But this was done under the facade of mass deportations. Now let's look at Israel. It's not just that Israel is talking about mass deportations. It's Israel talking about mass deportations on top of the fact that you have fanatics in the government, on top of the fact that you have Jewish fanaticism growing in popularity, and they're saying non-Jews are animals, Palestinians are animals, they all need to be gotten rid of. This is on top of the fact that settlement Israeli nationalism is taking extreme positions of popularity. It's because of the fact also that these fanatics are in positions of power in the Knesset. It's on top of the fact that you have Israeli officials saying things like there are no innocents in Gaza, they are all terrorists, or Gazans are Amalek, and the Bible tells us to exterminate Amalek. It's on top of this, right? On top of the fact that you can turn on channel 12 on Israel and you can see people saying, kill more Palestinians. We want to see more death. Kill them all. It's on top of this. It's on top of the fact that you have a case of Israeli soldiers raping a Palestinian man up the ass, sodomizing him. And then when the police come to bring the sodomizers to justice, an entire riot sparks, and you have all these fanatics flooding the prison grounds, trying to free the sodomizers. And you can say, well, this is just a group of crazy people. But then you have a whole nationalist movement that supports the sodomizers. And so on top of this entire reality, you have Israelis saying we want to do mass deportations. So let's look at Nazi Germany. In Nazi Germany, you had all this talk about how the Jews were the enemy and they were behind Bolshevikism and they were ruining Germany, and we have to fight German Jewry. We have to fight Jewry all over the world. Get rid of European Jewry. European Jewry is the enemy. And then on top of that, they started talking about deportations. And but before the deportations, they were saying what? Hitler was saying what? Hitler was talking about eugenics. He was talking about the importance of blood and soil and genes, and he was talking about how there were certain people who weren't worthy of being allowed to live. There were certain people who weren't worthy of being allowed to have children. Only certain people should have had kids. Only certain people need to have babies because we want to populate the world with people who have the best genetics, right? There was all that talk, and that was out in the public. It wasn't just all secretive stuff. No, this was out in the public. And then on top of all that, they started talking about deportations. You see? That's what I'm talking about. That's the problem. I have not covered Ukraine yet. Nope. You're out of focus in the camera, or what? What's going on? Evil also creates retaliatory evil. Yes, it does. And that's something that we always have to keep in mind. Genuine psychosis. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, they are not wrong about the Turks. Who's not wrong? About what in regards to the Turks? Oh, the barbarian. Yeah, yeah, yeah. El Salvador and U.S. to make a deal deporting U.S. prisoners to the El Salvadorian prisons. Yep. Yep. I couldn't have done what I did if it wasn't for the Americans. Yeah, I heard about that. So there is this is my whole thing is people look at what's happening around. They say, oh yeah, MAGA, Elon Musk, this is great, da, da, da. And I can sympathize with them. Don't get me wrong. I sympathize with them over certain things. But what I am saying is that there are certain things that we need to see. And if we should not refuse to see it. And all we need is a little bit of knowledge on history. And all we need is just to open up our eyes a little bit more. And believe me, this shit, this ain't my heart goes out to you. This is Sieg Heil. This is my Reich goes out to you, not my heart. This is Sieg Heiling. I don't give a damn what anyone tells me. So, what did we talk about? We were talking about something else before. Oh, the Arab world. Yeah. So let's go back to the Arab world article, and then we will eventually get to the Ukraine topic, because that is interesting. Certain things that are said and done that shouldn't be. Certain things that are said. Okay, but how you said that my focus. You said that I'm out of focus just slightly. Could you please specify what you mean by that? Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to get some coffee and I'm going to get some water because my mouth is hella dry and my calories, my energy level is going down a little bit. I'm getting a little bit worn out. It's amazing how much calories you burn just by talking. And I've been here for... Oh, this music is so damn good, guys. I can listen to this shit all day. I've been here for almost 3 hours, which means we have 3 hours left to go. So I'm going to... You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna get some water. Oh, camera is slightly out of focus. Okay. Let me see here. Hold up. $33. Let me see here. My camera's looking fine, so I'm not sure exactly what the issue is. Let me look at your guys' comments here. Hold on. Roman salutes. Yeah, there is no Roman salute. That's bullshit. I see it used for everything when you try to compare it to the past. Okay. I think of how Ezekiel spoke about Sodom being judged for being cruel to the needy, and yes, that's correct, in addition to all of his other sins. I think that is God's last straw. Yep. Cruelty to the vulnerable, to the weak, and also the embracing of the evils of Sodom. Absolutely. You look like an ancient Roma centurion. Well, you know, I don't know. I am Mediterranean. When I was in Italy, there was someone... Oh, who told me this? There was a girl who told me that I looked Roman. She said, you look 100% like you're from Rome. She said, I honestly thought you were Roman. So, I mean, it's the Mediterranean blood running through me. I think Italians and Middle Eastern people and Palestinians, I think they all, Greeks, I think they all share a genetic overlap. Notice Trump's online speech at Davos going at them and pretty much declaring, we know you've been naughty and we're about to take the belt off. Interesting. I gotta look that up. Let's be honest, Theo. The few Europeans watch American football. Yeah. I think maybe I went too far with that one. So much for protections against cruel and unusual punishment. Listen, the Constitution is just a piece of paper that is open to people's interpretations. And if people want to use the Constitution to interpret something that's utterly evil, they will do it. With enough popular opinion, they will do it. I'm currently doing Marathon on the Boardwalk Empire show. I have not seen that. Is that a mafia show by any chance? Woof woof, yeah. Annoying dogs. How did they interpret life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? It was life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for certain people. Like the right to vote wasn't for black people. That was for white people. I'm here every Friday. I'm glad you are, Mr. Master Driver. I couldn't have done what I did if it wasn't for... Yeah, that's right. El Salvador. Okay, I already read that. You definitely look like a clone of my Greek cousin Dimitri. Yeah, we are all Mediterranean people. Palestinians, Greeks, Italians, Sicilians, Maltese people, um, Lebanese people. I think they all share a genetic makeup, or not the same, but they all overlap genetically, is what I would say. The El Salvador deal looks promising, by the way. Imagine being an illegal. Listen, deporting people because they're criminals, I have no issue with. The the issue is mass deportation being used as a facade for something else, and also mass deportation in light of a growing eugenics ideology.